Okay, so I'm just going to wait a couple of moments to see if anyone tunes in, see how these things work. But anyway, welcome to Showskaters podcast, episode 1 with Fiona Zaldua from Fiona and Dmitry, one of the world's best Adagio ice and inline figure skaters. So what is Showskaters? Showskaters is a platform to bring the skating community together, to learn, to be cast for shows, and also to earn through active participation, through the discount codes for our frames and blades and things that we're doing later. But there'll be more on that as we move forward. So let's kind of get straight into the interview. And for those that don't know, my name is Adam. I've been an ice skater since I was 17. I did 20 years of ice shows before switching to inlines, and I've done lots of shows along the way. So let's bring on our guest, Fiona, and then we can get right into the conversation. Here she is. Hello, Fiona. How are you?
Hello, Adam. I'm okay, thank you. A little bit exhausted because I've been traipsing out around Kensington Palace Gardens today with my kids and just trying to do everything. It's summer holidays.
Yeah. I mean, how was the weather today?
Amazing. I think it must have been about 30 degrees. It was boiling.
Oh,
yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, I haven't seen much of the weather really today. I actually took a nap in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I was in the rink in the morning, but and they skated as well, and I was teaching, and then I took advantage of let's go somewhere, let's walk around. So we did.
Yeah, definitely. How's your week been?
It's been quite busy. It just feels like the one thing's rolling into another. I was at the coaches convention. Some of you watching may remember I was there. I don't know. I was at Milton Keynes at the artistic competition. I've been at home, so I live in Bridgend, but I work in London as well as Cardiff and Bristol. So I just feel like I'm sort of everywhere. At the same time, I'm just happy because I got my children with me right now as well. Yeah.
Amazing. So you're in 3 different rinks, and you're working all 3 every week.
Pretty much. I think Cardiff at the moment, I'm just going to be a spectator and just watch my children skate there for a while, because I think in the summer they've got it sorted out. But usually, I do 3 rinks. Yeah.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of work to do. So let's kind of let's start with a couple of the questions, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. How about that? So let's start right from the scratch, because you're here to tell your story. I want to hear about Fiona.
Okay.
Why did Fiona start skating? When did Fiona start skating? And where? So how old were you when you started skating? Let's kind of start right from the very beginning.
Okay. Let's start at the very beginning. Okay. I started when I was 7 3/4. And
3/4.
It was very much
very exact.
Yeah, I remember. And I really wanted to go and skate for a very long time. And my mother did some skating, and she encouraged me to watch skating. And at the time, because I was born in 1978, so at the time when I was a child, skating was really popular in the UK. You used to be able to watch all the championships just on the normal TV. And my mum used to follow everything, so I knew all the skaters, and I was really into it. I used to like watching. I was really into watching the competitors from the USSR.
Yeah.
And it was after there was like this snowball effect after Torval and Dean. So I think I was very privileged to get to see a lot of skating when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was really inspired by all of that, and my mom was a skater. So the first ice rink I actually stepped foot in was Queen's Ice Rink, Queensway, in London. Yeah, that was the very first place. And I remember I went with my cousin, and my mum was very much like, hold on to the barrier. She made me wear like thick socks and woolly clothes, and she was worried that I was going to fall over and hurt myself naturally. But it was just the opposite. I mean, as soon as I stepped on the ice, I was like a duck to water. off I went. And my cousin, I think she struggled a little bit because what I remember was my mum was holding on to her a lot most of the time that we were there, and I just whizzed around and around. And then when that session was over, I remember I just was like, Mum, I want to skate. And I'd done different things before. I played the piano, I did ballet, I did Scottish dancing, but I just had like this like feeling like, I love this is great, I want to do it again. And I was like, Mum, I want to skate, like that. And then she enrolled me into a skating course. I did that once a week. I kind of blended into the background, to be honest, what I remember.
Is that like a skate course?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also skated at Richmond. So Richmond closed down years ago, but it was a very prestigious place to go. And I remember I even had a birthday party in the Arosa rink when I was a kid. And I watched a lot of it. So they used to have lots of international competitions, and I watched many international competitions there, like Skate Electric. And I remember I just used to love so many skaters, like Victor Petrenko's younger brother. I remember I really liked him, Vladimir Petrenko.
Younger brother. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And I was about 9 at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I was just absorbed. I was really excited about skating. I had lots and lots of energy. And then I used to be the little kid who used to run backstage and get the autographs. And yeah, did I answer that question? I just went off on one.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
from when you really felt like you loved skating, did this love stay with you, and has it stayed with you kind of forever? Or was there any periods where you were a teenager and you got strayed by boys or anything like that?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I was lucky. I had great coaches. I didn't have many coaches. My first coach was John Bonney, and I had him for 2 years. And that was actually so after that whole beginning part where I started skating, I did have actually Bo in Queens first, actually.
Okay.
And I was briefly in Queensway at the beginning, and then at some point I got ill. So this is all kind of a long time ago. I have to think back, but I got quite ill. You know, my mum and dad, they went through a divorce, so that was a difficult time already in my life. I was about eight and a half, and I started. So it's like I started skating again when I went to Slough. So Slough Ice Rink, and I skated in Slough. And in some point, I was there for a year, and then I went and skated in Bracknell because my coach went to Bracknell at that time. And then my mum, she was a single parent, and she was working full time as a teacher. And you know, she worked so hard to pay. I mean, I got 4 older brothers as well, so there were 5. She had 5 kids, and she just went to a great lot of trouble for me. And in some point, I think she thought, okay, I can't do this. So she went back to Slough. And then I started with Peter Morrissey. And Peter Morrissey was my coach for a good 7 years. And I used to go Monday to Friday. So I used to skate every early morning before I went to school, between the ages of 10 and just before my 17th birthday. So 7 years, yeah.
Wow.
And he was my main coach.
Yeah. You lived with your mother the whole time, pretty much.
Yes, yeah. My mum raised me very much, yeah.
Wow. I mean, she must be so proud that all of her hard work and dedication to
My
put
mum,
you through
yeah.
skating and to take skating, it's kind of you know, it worked.
She was proud of me, but she was also proud of my brothers as well. So all my brothers, I have a brother, Alistair. He's a musician, a professional musician and composer, and he's done amazingly. He's got a PhD, and he tours around with his wife, my sister-in-law Lauren, and there's my brother Martin. He works at Ascot. He's amazing. He's an engineer. I mean, I'm so proud of all my brothers. My brother Anthony, you know, he's like a top nurse, and he's worked with people with epilepsy. And then my brother Nigel. So my brother Nigel, he died 6 years ago. He got malignant melanoma, which is a really aggressive form of skin cancer. Yeah. So I've been through quite a hard time in my life, being a teenager. Going back to that question about that time, yeah, I had a lots of lows. I mean, I was bullied in school quite severely, and I struggled with my confidence for many, many years. I was very, I had a very, very low self-esteem. So that was a big barrier for me and a big challenge to overcome. And in some point, I wanted to just throw away my skating. I remember just feeling very up and down with my emotions, and just not feeling very comfortable within myself.
Yeah.
I just used to spend as a teenager a lot of time just in my room listening to music. I used to like writing a lot and composing songs. I used to like to write poetry as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just went through a lot of different phases. So it's not been easy, and just recently my mother passed away as well. Uh,
Yeah. And I'm really
yeah,
sorry to hear about that.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's been
The
quite
thing is,
difficult.
going
Yeah,
back to when we're younger, I
yeah,
think, adversity makes you who you are. If you have a really comfortable, easy life, then you don't become a strong person.
yeah,
If you want a human being, you're like, I want them to be really, really strong. Well, you're going to
yeah,
have to put them through struggles. They're going to have to do something that's really, really hard, whether that's learning a skill or, trying to do something different. And one thing I want to touch on, when you said you got bullied and it really affected you, like I got bullied. I was 5 foot until I was 16 years old. I'm five
okay,
foot nine now. So I was tiny. I was always really dark. I was dancing until I was 13. And then I was figure skating from 11, and I went to an all boys school. Can you
okay,
imagine? But
cool.
what I remember back is I didn't
Yeah,
care. I don't know why.
yeah,
I didn't care. And I'm only thinking about this now, that it didn't really affect me, as if maybe I'm just missing that part of the brain that cares about certain things. I don't know. Or maybe it's just being a man. I'm not sure. But it's bullying in school is awful. Like
yeah.
anyone that's watching right now, when you hear about bullying in school, whether it's through you or you saw bullying when you were a kid, it's horrific because kids don't. They
Yeah,
don't care, do they? It's really, really tough. But anyway, enough talk about bullying.
it's okay. I don't mind addressing these things now. I'm quite happy to, and especially if there's people out there who are going through something which is really difficult in their life. You just, finding strength within myself, and just it was a whole process too. And I mean, when I left that environment, I just sort of thought, okay, that's it, that's over. I'm not that person anymore. So I didn't want to have anything to do with the person I was before. I kind of thought,
Yeah,
that's not me. And I
yeah,
walked away from it. Yeah.
yeah. I feel
My,
like I've got more like questions about bullying now because, it's a lot of people. We carry things from our childhood that
yeah,
affects us in our
definitely. Yeah.
adult life, and I think it's probably more females maybe. I don't know. Just as men, we have to deal with this. I don't know. So it's just tough, isn't it? I think everyone you need to deal with it somehow, don't you? I think find your own way to kind of come to terms with it, so it doesn't stay with you forever.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it is. It is difficult. And, I think in a way I was lucky because I was before the generation of, phones.
yeah,
Long before that. I think
just
I
just
went on, I had my first email address when I was in my 20s, I mean, I'm a dinosaur, but yeah, I was lucky in that way that at least I didn't have that problem with
uh,
social media.
couldn't imagine. I
Yeah,
could not imagine.
can't
Like
either.
I hear stories. Obviously, I talk with Rosie. She's much younger, and some of the stories that she tells me about when she was through school and stuff like this, and like, it's so different to have phones all the time. You know,
Yeah.
it's not good for kids. My
No,
daughter,
it's um
she's not having a phone for a long time. She's 6. I'm like, you don't need a phone. You can have your iPad. You can watch videos, but to
I
have
said that
connection
to
with
my
people, you don't
kids.
need it yet. You need to play and have
Yeah,
fun.
it's over sensorizing them. There's just
Exactly.
so much information, and it's just, that they need to just discover and explore the world. And I really like actually the Montessori approach. Yeah, that's a really interesting philosophy with
What
Maria
is
Montessori. And it's just children just learning. how to use tools and, you know, bake, and it's all hands-on stuff. And I just think that that's just a much more healthy approach to
Definitely.
education, rather than just, okay, let's just give you a screen. I mean, sometimes I'll be honest, I give my children an iPad
Well,
and
yeah,
I let
you're
them watch
busy,
a movie and stuff, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, they fight over it as well, and that's the other thing. I mean, but I mean, it's just, there's no way around it. I mean, it's
exactly.
there. They're going to see phones, they're going to see iPads, so I wouldn't say I never let my children do that, because
Yeah,
but I supervise them, and I make it my business to know what they're watching and what they're looking at. Yeah.
exactly. And how old are they?
Oh, so Leo is 7 still. He's going to be 8 soon, though. And Diana is 6. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Same age as Nell, my daughter, 6. Maybe they'll skate together one day. So
Maybe.
let's have a little segue. I know you've got a really interesting story from when you were 9 years old.
Oh,
Do you remember the
okay.
letter you wrote? I think,
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I used to like writing as a teenager, but also as a younger child as well. I mean, we didn't have the internet, so it was all like get a pen and write on a piece of paper. And I used to write to lots of famous people. And in some point, because I used to watch a lot of skating on television, and I was very inspired by the Russian skaters, by their technique and their presence and posture and
Yeah,
everything. And I noticed those things, and I thought it was very beautiful. So I was asking my mother. I said, "Mother, I want to skate like that. I want to learn to skate like that. I want to go to Russia and learn." So she was like, "Well, Fiona, you know," and I asked the question. I said, "How can they skate like that?" And she was like, "Well, they skate most of the day. You know, they train, and it's a different system over there." So I was just asking question after question after question. And in the end, she said, "Well, you need an invitation to go over there. You can't just go." I said,
yeah,
"How do you get an invitation?" And she said, "Well, you'd have to write to the president." And I was like, "Who's that?" And she said, "Oh, President Gorbachev." So that was it. I just went off on one. I wrote a whole
yeah,
letter. I drew this absolutely hilarious picture of this girl with like extra long arms and extra long
yeah,
legs. And it was like I think it was a pair skating picture, weirdly.
yeah,
And I have got it somewhere. I'll send
yeah.
it to you one of these days. I just have to find it. It's in my collection of photos. But the letter went something like, "Oh, dear President Gorbachev, please, would you let me come and skate in Russia? Please, can I bring my mum with me? I really want to learn from your champion skaters," and like that. And I mean, I forgot about it. And then it was 27 years later that I was performing in Moscow. I was doing a TV show, a skating TV show, and I had to do a lot of shooting, like 1 month's worth of shooting in one weekend.
Yeah.
And we were like working around the clock. I mean, we were doing a number, then the makeup came off, the costumes came off, another costume came off, different makeup, different
Wow.
hairstyle. It was crazy. And it was and they had audiences coming in and watching and cheering. And then we had, you know, like big judges there. We had Tarasova and, you know, were giving us marks. It was ever so fun and also nerve wracking.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it was during that a journalist must have seen those programs. He must have seen me and seen my name,
yeah,
Fiona Zaldua, and realized that it was the same, because I guess it's an unusual name. Well, maybe not in Spain, but in the UK and in Russia. And so he saw the name and he thought, okay, is that the same girl? So somehow he got my contact and he sent an email to me and asked me if I was the girl who wrote the letter to President Gorbachev when I was
I'm getting
younger.
goosebumps. Even though you've told me this story before, I still get goosebumps. It's like,
Yeah, it was
thanks.
crazy, really crazy. I was like, wow, how's that
Yeah,
possible? And I got the opportunity to see my letter it was on exhibit. So there was a museum in the center of Moscow, and they had different examples And they had another girl who'd written a letter in the 70s, who'd been killed in a plane crash, and who'd written to the president. And there were all these different things. So it was really kind of weird, yeah, to see that
When you're
in
part
the
of history
museum.
in Russia, I mean,
Yeah,
that's very strange, isn't it? How that came to be. They got this letter, and then somehow it's ended up in a museum.
yeah. But
Very, very
yeah, so Dmitry is my husband, so he's Russian. So that was also a weird kind of coincidence, because I did end up marrying a Russian man.
So
Which, yeah.
when did you meet Dmitry, and how did you meet Dmitry?
So after I went to school and everything. I finished school, and I was around 16 and a half, going on 17. Or I just turned 17 when I went to a Russian skating school. So they had a Russian skating school in Stevenage in Hertfordshire, and it was a good idea. They had Russian speaking coaches there on the ice. They had the structure like they have it, where they had them all working as a team rather than just one to one. So they were all on the ice, and they all helped us, and they all worked with us. And I was skating on that skate school, so I was new there. I just joined, and it was, I think, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I just joined that Dima came on the scene. And actually, Dima, he was skating on the same ice time as I was, and he was trying out pair skating. But at the time, I was a solo skater, so I did solo skating from the age of 7 3/4
Yeah.
until I was 18. Yeah, around 18 19, yeah. So I just, it wasn't like I wanted to skate with him or something like that.
Yeah.
It was never like that. We just he was just someone who was on the ice at the same time as me, and then we would just hang out together in the changing room, and then there would be lunchtime, and we go for a walk, and we just kind of ended up together in a very innocent way. And yeah, he couldn't speak any English, and
Really?
I couldn't speak any Russian, and we just used to
Oh,
smile at each other,
yeah.
and that went on for quite some time. But there was some
So cute.
sparks.
That's
Um,
so cute.
yeah, it was very, very cute and very natural
Oh,
as well. It was.
amazing. Uh, so you've met each other, you like each other. How did Fiona and Dmitry come to be the skaters? How did this kind of go from there
Oh.
to then we go to shows and
I was
and
at the beginning. I was just a very, very shy. So at that time, I was still very shy, lacked confidence. But we had a spark with each other. And you know, in Stevenage, I made friends with other skaters, and we used to go out. We used to meet in the centre of London together, or I used to go to their house, and we used to do different things. And so I'd always see Dima there.
yeah,
And so that time passed. So we had a lot of difficulties because, I mean, it was the mid 90s. And at the time, it was when it was just after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And so Dima was an athlete. He'd been a world junior champion before. He skated with Oksana Kazakova, who was Olympic champion. She went on to skate with Artur Dmitriev. And his first partner was Yevgenia Chernyshova. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. But he
we'll
was
just
world
say
junior champion with her.
yeah,
And she went on to become Nathan Chen's coach. She did her, she was amazing as well. So, I mean, he had some great pair partners before me. And we were together. We were just like a boyfriend and girlfriend. And finally, we were
yeah,
friends for a long time, but finally we became boyfriend and girlfriend. And the situation was quite difficult because he was on a visa, on a tourist visa or something like that,
yeah,
and he was told that he had to go back to Russia because his visa had expired, and there was lots of problems. But he managed to sort it out. My mother helped, and he managed to stay longer. And we thought, okay, if we want to be together, we need to find a job, we need to work. So we went and we did an audition.
How old were you at this point?
I was still 17, so we kind of sneaked off, and we were supposed to be skating that day in the camp, in the school where we used to skate, and we went off on a train, and we just we went for a live audition for Blackpool, the Hot Ice show. That was the very first place. We just go on the ice. We didn't know what we were doing. Okay, just go and do some double jumps, go and do some spins, go and present yourself. So I skated as a soloist, and I did some spirals, and I did some doubles, and nice skating, some spins. And Dimo was given a partner, Elena, and said, okay, just try and skate around, do some crossovers, and try a lift. So we did all of those things, and it seemed fine. And at the end, they just said, okay, you do know this is a G-string show, like this to me. And I'm like, a G-string show? And then they handed us a contract, and they said, well, you need to kind of sign it, because it will go, the position will go. We need to make sure. And we're just like so clueless. But we really wanted to have an opportunity, and this was a chance. And so we signed it. I signed it, he signed it, we signed it. And that was it. We signed our life away. That's how it started. So our first show was in Blackpool on the Hot Ice show. Yeah.
Amazing. You know what's funny?
We did skate together there. Just one lift. We did one lift there.
I wonder how many people watching when they said, and then they handed me a G-string. One for you, Dmitry, one for you, Fiona.
You do know this is a G-string show. I didn't wear G-strings, Adam. I wore like good old Catholic knickers, And it was actually in that first show, I have to say, I mean, I was lucky because I had all the greats in the show. As Nikki Scott, who's like a good friend of ours. And Nikki, she was actually said, Fiona, you really need to tuck in your knickers. They're really hanging out. And she said, you should wear a G-string. So I did actually. Embarrassing. Yeah.
I mean, I've had to wear them in shows. I don't like wearing them. I'm like, girls.
Well, I do now, but that was right at the beginning, and I was really funny at the beginning. I was really young and really naive, and I had no idea how to be a showgirl. So Blackpool was amazing because it was like the old school of learning. You just threw you straight in. You had like 30 costume changes. You had to go from one thing to another. You had to wear a hat. You had to wear boot covers. And it was like, okay, it's quite stressful, but you learn fast, don't you, Adam?
You do. I mean, well, this is the thing for all of us. Like, I started shows when I was 17 as well. A tour of Spain's Sonchiello, No More Sonchiello. I mean, it was very different to you. It was more of we're just like partying and having fun, and I would just chorus. I mean, I wasn't very good when I went into shows, but it's different when you learn on the job. This is what's good about with Showskaters, what we're going to do here, where you can learn and you can be ready when you arrive. I know you're going to be creating some stuff for us, and it's going to be an interesting journey just to see where Showskaters goes with helping new skaters really. That's what I'm interested in, because you're also a coach, and it's great to kind of just to see people improve. And if we can have a hand in that and help the whole industry, then I think that's really quite something to be part of, I think.
Oh, and I think this is so like exciting and new. It's a new concept. It's going to be so interesting to see how it evolves. And definitely it's wonderful because you can have people and they don't have to be going to a venue on the other side of the country. They can just be watching this on the internet and learning. They can learn things like that, which it just opens up so many opportunities for so many more people, and I think that's always a good thing. That's totally positive. Great idea.
It's about community. It's not about me. There is already quite a lot of videos on there, but this is just what I already had. I spoke to Natalia, the mother of my daughter, and she's like, it can't be all about you, Adam. It can't be all your videos. I said, I know. I want other people to create. So like when we go forward into the future, 5, 10, You know, there's no reason when you build something that when you're thinking about changing or improving an industry that it can't last for a long time. So I envision having, you know, videos from hundreds of people on the platform and makeup talking about G-strings, maybe even like, and fishnets and all, you know, all the ways to fix fishnets where you get your cup, you put the fishnet over and you fix it, you know, all of these things that I've seen girls do that people that have never done it wouldn't know, you know. Like you can't learn experience. Like we can try to use our experience and then help the ones that are kind of coming behind us, you know. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. You know, we'll see. We'll see, you know. So let's have a look at some of my other little questions I've got over here. You know, okay. So how? So here's one. Here's something that I always wonder. Like so, some of the people that I'm inspired by, because you inspired me a lot, and I'm sure you've inspired many single skaters and also pair skaters from shows that have seen you guys like doing all these amazing shows all over the world. Your tricks are always perfect. I know you must make mistakes, but I've never really seen them. So who inspires you and who inspired you at the beginning when you're kind of thinking back through the years?
Okay. Oh, and I just think back to my childhood and how my granny used to say to my mom, she's going to be an entertainer. Because I always was dancing and jumping around. And I think whenever Fame came on the TV in the 80s, I used to like do all like the movements to the music. Yeah. And I was inspired not by any specific figure skater, actually. I just loved the arts, and I loved watching not just skaters, but dancers and singers. And yeah, I liked watching Margot Fonteyn and Rudolf Nureyev. They're ballet dancers. I really loved Michael Jackson as well. I loved his dancing. I went to his concert. Janet Jackson as well.
Did you ever perform a Michael Jackson inspired kind of routine with
Yeah. Yes, I did. When Michael Jackson passed away, we did a show, and other skaters. It was Thomas Werner and Denise.
I used to love him.
Yeah, and they all did Michael Jackson numbers, and I think we did one, and I don't think people probably even know the music track because I actually chose it was Morphine, and it was because I was listening to the lyrics on my earphones, and it was just all about him taking Demerol, and it was just all about how he died, and I just thought that was really eerie and creepy, but at the same time I liked the beats, and I thought, okay, we could be like drug addicts. So I put lots of makeup on Dmitry. Got his hair all spiky. And yeah, we did that too. Yeah.
Oh, sometimes it's fun to go so opposite to who you are to play a character role because it's not something that you would ever do in your real life, and it's just you just get the opportunity to just be a different person almost.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
fun.
Yeah,
I love creating characters, and I'm inspired by actors as well. But going back to skaters in recent years, I'd say I love Carolina Costner. She's a beautiful person inside and out.
yeah.
And we've done Intimacy on Ice, Opera on Ice, and Stefan Lambiel. He's lovely.
Yeah.
And then there's some people out there who are just Saria Bonnelly. I've toured with Saria Bonnelly a lot, and she was another one I just got on really well with. And then in Holiday on Ice, not people maybe who are so famous like them, but still wonderful people that I've worked with around the world. I've just had a privilege to work with so many lovely people, and Yevgeny Plushenko as well. So there's like lots of people. I probably missed somebody out. I mean, Adore Ito I was a big fan of Adore Ito, and I was really happy that I finally got to work with her in Prince Ice World in Japan, and then Shizuka Arakawa, who's a complete diva. So it just goes on. I just could go on all day talking about different skaters. And I mean, pair skaters, all-time favorites, Katerina Gordieva and Sergei Grinkov. But I love Katerina Gordieva, how she skated with Ilya Kulik as well. Ilya Kulik was Olympic champion as well. So yeah, it goes on and on.
You've definitely skated.
Yeah.
I mean, in your later years, because we'll go through a little bit of your history, but you've skated with some really, really amazing skaters, Olympic, world champions.
Yes, a
It
lot,
must have been
a lot.
like when you first stepped up onto this level. How
Yeah.
did it feel? Did you feel intimidated to share the ice with them, or was it just you're there, you're doing what you're doing, and you're not really focusing on them?
So when I got to doing freelance shows, it was in about the end of 2007. And at that point, I had been touring with Dmitry in a caravan, and we had our French bulldog with us at that point, Paris.
Yeah,
And it was just, we got approached to do shows. We were offered to go and perform in Japan. It was all kind of like a conversation, and I wasn't really sure whether I believed it or not. It was going on in the background. We were working really, really, really hard, and I was getting to like 29 years old, and we were doing like three shows, that kind of schedule, and it was quite tough on my body. And at that point, in that particular show that we did, I was doing about 12 numbers, which was quite a lot for a principal. And I mean, they were beautiful numbers. Choreography was gorgeous. But it was, I felt very proud to be there. So I don't want to sound like ungrateful. I mean, we were principals and we had the best parts in the show. But there's this chance to try something that we hadn't tried before, to go into the unknown, to go one step further, to do things like that. So yeah, it all kicked off at the end of 2007, and we performed. I think the first performances, some of the first performances we did were for Spotlight Productions, and we performed.
really.
Yeah,
Oh, I forget the name. Whose show was that? That's in German, isn't it?
yeah. So it was Jenny and Daniel at the time. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and they were lovely. But I mean, we performed with Boney M. Boney M. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Brown Girl in the Ring.
Oh,
Yeah.
you as
And
well.
yeah, we didn't. I didn't skate to that one. I think we
Yeah.
skated to When a Child is Born. Yeah, that's another story as well. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and we did Passion of Christ. So yeah, it was a great beginning, and that was televised. Um, and so that was on national TV in Germany. And then we went on and we did more stuff which was televised. So we were on Eurosport, and so we got quite a lot of exposure, which was really good for us and nice. But to be honest, we were in Holiday on Ice and we did that for like a long, long time. So that feeling of performance and dealing with pressure was
yeah.
already there. We were like, yes, we can do it, and I used to love it. And I had Dima. He was like my coach as well. I mean, he trained me. I wasn't a pair skater before. I had dreams about which lifts that we should do, and then I used to tell Dima, and then he used to figure out the technique, and then we used to go in the garden and try and do some lifts. This is right at the beginning. That's how it started.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to the point where we were doing freelance, we were already proper professionals. Like we were already like, okay, we know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But
No.
it's all a challenge. So everywhere you go, the challenge gets more and more. And I figured that when we did shows in Asia, I always felt like there was a bigger expectation of us,
Yeah.
and the level of difficulty was just a little bit higher. I mean, then there was jet lag. Because I've always felt that there was more attention paid to details. And so it was then that, you wanted things to be perfect. And then you'd have to find different ways to prepare yourself, different ways to stay calm. We did lots of morning shows, and we had to deal with all different feelings. And so you just had to find a balance within yourself. And that was very difficult. So, I mean, with a freelance, you would get so much from it, you'd feel like you were on top of the world, you know, you just feel like this is the most amazing thing. But there was that downtime as well. So you would come off the plane, you get home, you'd have a gap between the next show. Your body would just sort of crash a little bit. You'd have a week off. It was just all of these things that created also quite a bit of turbulence in many different ways. It wasn't perfect. I mean, I would say it's been like a roller coaster, and it's not an easy profession to do.
No, it's
But we trapped very, very hard.
that's the thing. When you do some things that are what other people would consider really, really amazing, it is amazing. But then the next day, it's like when you're building up to something for weeks and months, and then you achieve that goal or you perform, like, you know, for me, some of the things that I did afterwards, it's like, now what?
Yeah.
Oh, it's now what do I do? And some people, you can go off the rails when you achieve everything you've ever wanted.
Absolutely.
You don't
Yeah.
set another mountain, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, we all have our goals. Okay, I'll be happy when I reach this, but you reach this, and now you've grown into a better version of yourself. Like you've leveled up on a game, and now you're like, oh, that one. And then you keep leveling up until you look back on who you were 10 years ago, and you can't even recognize that person because you remember your thoughts and what you wanted to do with your day, you know? So it's cool. It's cool. Like, how was it for you on the big ice? They're like the big ice, because this is really different, right? To suddenly have to go from, even holiday is fairly big, but then this is twice the size, right? Or three times the size.
Yeah. So when we used to train, we used to train on an Olympic ice surface. Um, so full size, and we used to have just normal floodlights and nobody watching. So there was really no energy at all. But we would get into the habit of, when we were past the creating stage and we were running the numbers and we were preparing for a show or a tour, we just used to run bit by bit by bit of the number. We used to run the first bit, then the second bit, then the third bit, not the whole thing together, just a little bit, then
Yeah.
do the middle bit and do the end bit. And we used to just train. And I mean, we were very, very driven. We were very like, this is what we're doing. We were crazy about it. And we used to train 6 days a week. We used to skate most days of the week, and then on Saturday I would go to the gym, do some yoga or something, and then on Sunday, even in the evening, I used to go and skate. So I mean, we just never stopped. We just skate, and when we were not doing stuff on the ice, we were training on the floor. But it didn't mean that we were always doing hours and hours on the ice. Sometimes we just go on the ice and do 20 minutes. We just step on the ice and just skate round, hold hands, feel the music. So, I mean, the pathway to the preparation for the actual performance wasn't just going in there and just putting the music on and going from beginning to end, and
Yeah.
burning yourself out. You know, we would take our rest points, we would train our body properly, prepare ourselves, try and eat properly. Although, to be honest, I'm pretty bad. I like chocolate. I don't eat I eat fish, but I don't eat meat. So I guess there's that. But yeah, I've had so much like,
I have chocolate here just in case I start to feel lightheaded. I'm like, I'll
yeah,
have
that's good because I didn't bring any, and I was thinking I so should have.
yeah, I'll give you
But I've
some.
had quite a lot today, so I'll just sip on my cold tea.
So when you would, let's imagine a regular session, like
Yeah.
what would a regular session back in the day look like for you? You arrive at the ice rink, and then what would both of you be doing? Just to paint a picture for
Yeah.
everybody.
Okay. So when we arrived at the rink, um, in an ice rink, as you know, on patch ice, which is training ice, you can have 40 people on there, you know, and you can't do anything. Um, so, you know, firstly, we'd have to choose the times of the day where it was more quiet.
Yeah.
So, say we had some like decent ice, because, you know, sometimes we used to get some surprises. We would warm up. We would warm up jogging, doing like a warm up just in a big space, not always a big space, but we always made the habit of doing the off ice warm up, and then going through once we were stretched and everything and done the press ups, not like in the gym, but just a little bit.
Yeah,
We would do some lifts. We would go through our lifts, and we'd go through our lifts like we would do them on the ice. So we wouldn't just stand and just do lifts, and we didn't used to wear our skates or anything like that. We used to keep our shoes on, and we would go through the lifts, how we would perform them if we were on the ice. So we would do the crossovers, we would do the preparation, and I would then take the criticism from Dima, like, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that as you're talking about this, I remember a video I may have watched many times, your inline figure skating pair number that's on YouTube. And in this video, you did, I think you went for the overhead split, and it came down, but then you reset, but then I got to see exactly what you talked about now, that you went back about 20 seconds and you did something else, you did choreo, and then you came all the way around it, and then you did the lift. So it's interesting to see how people work behind the scenes kind of thing, because you showed that's the first behind the scenes I've really seen. So it's interesting, and that's actually the only time I've seen you guys make a mistake, and it's doing a trick that no one else really does on inlines.
Difficult. On rollerblades, it's not easy. It's heavier. I don't know. Maybe you find it easier, but it was hard.
Oh, I mean, it's just awkward. And you know something what's really strange with me. So when I did the overhead split on the ice, I did it with Jenna Nicole, and she did it with the same leg as you. So that's the right leg forward. So you go this way, but Rosie is more left leg, so I have to do it the opposite way. So I have to lift here and then turn this way. I mean, we did do it a few years ago. Now we've come back. We can't do it yet. I want to get this on, because this is. I mean, it's never going to be as good as you guys.
Well, stop it.
No.
No.
You are. You guys are amazing.
Way, and if you have your heart in it, But yeah, technique comes first, so it's always, and you know that. You have to always start on the floor, don't you? And just work until they're 200%.
Yeah, it's just practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get to the level where you and Dmitry were, where like I don't remember watching you make a mistake on any videos I watched on YouTube, and I've watched a lot of videos. Like,
we have made mistakes. Yeah. I think everybody does. I mean, we're not robots. I mean, we did a performance in an outdoor gala in Paris somewhere, and I just remember we were skating with white costumes on, and we were skating to very floaty piano music.
Yeah.
And at some point, I did an overhead lift, and I put my arm out, and I was just doing, and then my leg was in front, and I had to bring my leg around Dima's head, but the ice was just a bit narrower. So he came around a very narrow sort of part of the ice. So my blade, my toe pick, actually, like that, just underneath his eyebrow, on his eye there. And I'm like, oopsie. And we just kept going, and we just kept skating, and it was all fine. And then he said to me, "Am I bleeding?" And at the time he said that, I looked, and I'm like, it was a little bit of blood. I was like, a little bit. And then I literally, as soon as I said that, it was gushing out everywhere. There was blood on the ice.
Oh my.
There was blood on the costume. It was everywhere. And I remember we were looking at each other, but we just kept going right till the end, until it was just like, just awful. Like, and the audience were really, I remember the audience were cheering, and they were really excited. And in France, they were going encore like this.
Yeah.
And we were just like, I think we need to go to the hospital. And we got off the ice, and we went, and Dima had stitches there. So yeah, things can go wrong anytime.
I love that you're like, yeah, we did make a mistake once. I accidentally kicked Dima, and he's bleeding everywhere, and we just carried on anyway and finished the number. I'm like, yeah, that if that's you're going wrong. I'm like, and then we tripped up, and I fell over, and I'm like, I was expecting like
Oh no, things do, but you know, touch wood. It's like as long as you go back to, you know, it's all different ways of preparation and just. I always found like when I was performing, I would like to just some people walk around and watch other skaters and just take the energy, you know, like take the energy from what's going on around them. For me, I was one of these people who would just put on my earphones, go and listen to my program, go outside somewhere, run through the choreography, then we do some lifts together. Then I put my skates on, then I would go through the choreography again in my head. So I was very much like in my bubble. And then when we went on the ice, I always felt like, okay, I'm just going to draw the picture. I'm just going to draw the picture. I'm not going to think about what I'm going to do at the end of the program. I'm just going to think about what the moment I'm in now, and I'm going to just be in that moment. And that seemed to be the way, the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on visualization? How often do you use that with your programs and everything you do?
You have to use this kind of psychology. You have to find the positive way, you know, to perform, because everybody has nerves, everybody's got adrenaline, everyone feels like that. It's just how you use it. I mean, that's energy, isn't it, in the end?
Oh,
And when
exactly.
you come on the ice, I mean, there were lots of shows where we had 15,000 people watching, or even 20. I think we had the biggest amount was 22,000 people. And so, I mean, we were in big arenas all over the world, and we skated with Donna Summer, and that was in Art on Ice. And you know, we were with lots of you know, big stars, and you know, it's your moment to shine. You want to do your best. You want to. It's kind of spiritual. It
Yeah.
feels like it's on a different level. I mean, once you get past that adrenaline feeling, if you can just follow through what you have to do, you can just put your mind over matter. You know, magic can happen.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's like, I don't know if it's sometimes you just, not that we're adrenaline junkies. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like the worst, but like for me, I always try to find the most scariest, hardest thing that I could do, just to, I don't know if I need that adrenaline, you know, when
Yeah.
it's whatever it is. Although there's been some things that I'm like when I finished on the semi-final of BGT, I was like, I never want to experience what that felt like again, because
Really.
it was
Yeah.
so scary, just because of what happened in the we had the dress run at 7 a.m. in the morning, and during this dress run, when we do the front flip, Rosie stumbled, and then I tripped over my stopper in the steps, and then
Oh,
she hit her head on the headbanger at the end, and then she fell over, and I was stood up.
that's so
That
difficult.
was the last one we did at 7 a.m. and then we had to perform at 9:30
Oh,
live to 10 million people. So I'm like, I was
scary.
so scared. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
No, that sounds like your worst nightmare, and
yeah,
things they can go wrong, but
but, you know,
yeah.
and then
It's
you know, you just don't feel your legs a little bit, right? The only time I've experienced this is BGT and Hot Ice opening night. Hot Ice opening night for me is like everyone's here. It's my hometown. It's for the first number. The ice feels slippy. It's like it's.
yeah,
Do
the
you, do you
nerve-wracking
remember that?
feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Kind of
This.
like that feeling. Yeah.
Also, so there's always a trick in the routine, right? There's always that one trick that you kind of you get past it, and then you feel like you're home. You're home. Like, okay, we've got through it. You know, was there a trick for you that was like we just okay, just get this one done. Okay, we're good now. Everything else is kind of like
Oh, that's an interesting question, because we had quite a few lifts and moves, and they were all really important, and everything was important. But some of them are a bit more difficult than others, aren't they?
yeah.
And I think we used to put like one-handed Detroiter at the end. And I remember actually one performance, I mean, for me, it wasn't just about executing the lifts well, it was also about the timing of things. So
Oh, it
if
is
we
the
did,
timing's everything, isn't it?
yeah, if you missed that kind of climax in the music.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a bit of an anticlimax, you know, and you just felt like, well, you could do the lift, but it's you missed the point,
Yeah.
the music, or if you're late for the music. So you know, you see those performances that you think, oh yeah, look, everything was working on the beat and on that, and it's a really nice feeling, like it all worked well. And then it's like, there's one performance where everything worked really well until right at the very, very end. I think it was when we were doing our Faithless number.
Yeah.
And it was just right at the very, very end, my hook clicked together with my other hook. And it was one of the, you know, it was right at the end, and I was ripping my feet. And I ripped the boot cover, like I literally ripped it, because otherwise I would have been with two legs together like this and not finished the number. So that was annoying. I saw it on the video as well.
Yeah.
I saw that moment. Oh yeah, that was annoying. That those things happen, you know, live show, live performance.
Yeah.
I've been with a sewing kit just before I go on the ice because there's been a hole in my costume. And I remember somebody said, how can you do that before you go on the ice? It's like, because I don't want to skate with a hole.
Yeah.
So I'd be sewing it up. Yeah.
I mean, it's the unexpected. You know, it's like you could practice. You've run the routine every day. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. You get ready, and the lace snaps, or just something happens with the costume, and you just have to deal with it. And you can't let the audience know, especially when it happens on the ice. The audience don't want to know. They want to see you work and make it look easy. That's what they want to see, and that's what you would see when we watched you. It was almost like perfection. Going around, you had your own style. That you guys have such a unique style that even if I couldn't see who you were, I would know it was you. You know, even by the tricks, by the skating, by the certain moves. And I think that's something really, really cool to be proud of. That you kind of have your own style for what you did. Because how many other pairs do you know that kind of did the regular show scene, let's say the regular shows, your Hot Ice, Royal Caribbean, Holiday on Ice, and then went on to do the freelance touring? I know Yannick and Annette do it, and like, is there many that, or is it quite a small amount of couples?
I think it's been, you know, so there are a few that I know, but it's quite selective, and it's kind of like when you get to the point where you kind of establish yourself and you're doing things kind of on a level where you have this kind of confidence. And I know not just Adagio skaters, but I know comedians who have gone on and do, you know, the big elite shows. Yeah, and some people, they just keep at it for many, many years. For us, we had our children, and so after that, it changes your life. It really does. And I mean, it was a completely different thing afterwards. I mean, my life was like, it was like a snow globe being shaped like that, and everything was just different, and I had to adjust to that difference, and that took years. It took years to transition to being a different, you know, feeling different like that. And it was beautiful, and I embrace it. But I mean, it changed my body as well, you know,
No,
and everything, you know. And then so we did go back and perform after having our children. And we almost went back after we had Leo, but then I got pregnant with Diana soon after. And so then we had to wait another year. And we did skate in a local gala, and I was pregnant in that gala. And I skated while I was pregnant with Leo as well. So I did go and do the Snow King show, Plishenko tour with Olympians and stuff. And yeah, did that. And I was scared. I thought, oh my goodness, you know, what's gonna happen? I had my children late. When I had Leo, I don't know if it's late, to be honest. Some people have later, but I was 38 when I had Leo, and 3 weeks before I turned 40 when I had Diana. Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So how was it to come back? So obviously I've seen with Natalia and now with Rosie to skate with somebody that's had a baby. How was it for you? Like what was your training like that you did preparing to skate, and what advice could you offer for other people that are skaters and have children and then come back? Like,
Oh,
would you say?
I saw other skaters before me have children and come back, and they did it so gracefully. But when I got pregnant with Leo, I just, I'd always been, I've never been on any kind of strict diet, to be honest. I never really, I think I have a high metabolism or something. Um, but it was just kind of nice to be able to eat things and not think about the consequences, like I wouldn't have to think, okay, I'm going to go on the ice and do this or that. I just had my cake.
Yeah,
I just ate whatever I wanted to. I wasn't unhealthy, but I could enjoy myself. It was the first time really that I could just relax and be pregnant. So I really enjoyed that whole process. It was beautiful. I mean, it took Dmitry and I ages for me to get pregnant. And then it just happened all of a sudden.
yeah,
And so after that, so after I had Leo, I mean, he took a long time to get out of my body because he was like 2 weeks late, and then the labor took like 48 hours. And there was a whole I had to recover from that. And so once I started to recover, I did a little bit of gym, a little bit of this, but the initial feeling when I went on the ice was my legs felt like a broken guitar string, like they
yeah,
went ding, like all my muscles in my legs were just, I never even thought about those muscles that I used to skate. And all of a sudden I just felt like, oh my goodness, I'm a mess. Where do I start with this? So I had to train. I had to train gradually. And anybody who's got newborn babies or toddlers knows it's really difficult to find the time to train.
yeah,
It's almost impossible sometimes. So for me, I would just go on YouTube and find 10-minute exercises that you can do. So I'd find 10-minute back exercises. I would go and do 5 press ups, say.
yeah,
Then I'd build up. So next day, I'm going to do 5 press ups. Then I'm going to do 10 press ups. I'm going to do 2 sets of back exercises. I'm going to do that not necessarily at the same time of the day. It's going to be whenever I have a spare 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 10 minutes, because
yeah,
the time is of the essence and you don't have it. It's around the clock, at least for Leo it was. I mean, I was, yeah. And then when Diana came, I mean, she was an easier baby, to be honest. The second child, they always say that the second children are easier. Yeah. But
you know what to
so
expect, don't you?
yeah, she came out in an hour. It wasn't a short labor. Yeah, I was out of the hospital in
Yeah,
2 hours. Yeah, so it was faster, but still it was. I still had to get back my figure. I still had to go through that process.
yeah.
So I think if you're going through that now, don't be too hard on yourself. Just enjoy the journey and don't put too much pressure on yourself because everybody's different. And you look at like celebrities and they all look perfect, but in reality, it's a really difficult thing to do, but
Yeah.
it is possible.
No, exactly. And I think it's the most one of the most important things is just to start small and just to
Yeah,
increase every day. Like what now that I'm not 99 kilos, I'm happy that I was 99 kilos. Like last
gosh.
August, a year ago, I was 99 kilos. I'm
What?
80 kilos now. I
Okay.
started skating. I was just doing 100% crypto, sitting here all day, and I got so fat. And
Yeah,
then when I
it's
had a
easy
job,
to happen.
I had a job come up. I had 17 weeks, and I lost 17 kilos in 17 weeks. I was not eating chocolate. The first day, I couldn't do one push up. I could barely do a push up on my knees. It was
Yeah,
so humbling,
yeah,
So I understand what it's like to be not to be pregnant, but I understand what it's like to be so out of shape and so ashamed. And I went to the gym and I saw people I knew and I just didn't look at them. And
yeah,
3 months later, then I looked at him and he's like, "How are you doing?" I said, and I had a conversation. And he said, "I said, oh, I didn't want to make." He's like, "I understand. I saw how you looked." So it's not this. It's just I think there's a lot of it kind of help people to understand that you're not always perfect. You don't have to come back and work, go
No.
back to where you were. You have to start again, day by
Yeah.
day by day by day. And if you keep improving every day, then you kind of get there. But
Yeah, I mean, in the end, our bodies change. We get older as well. I mean, I'm middle age, and I have to try to realize that my children are really kind to me. They say, "Oh, mummy, you're like 21," like this. But it's harder now, It is harder than when I was younger. But I think in my head, I'm still 21.
yeah, I'm like those. I'm like almost your age. Like we're not middle aged. Middle aged. That's
Yeah. Well, I was lying to Leo at the beginning. I said I was 10 years younger, but then I thought, well, he's actually quite good at maths.
yeah,
And he was trying to figure it all out. And I thought,
yeah.
yeah.
It's, oh, interesting. So, just trying to think of some of the other things I wanted to ask you about. You know what? Let's break this up. This is a surprise for you as well, Fiona.
Go on.
I've got a little surprise for you. So, we're going to do some just six quick fire questions.
Okay.
So you have to choose one.
I'm not ready for this. This is not prepared. I don't know what
You
he's
have
going
to
to
choose
say.
one or the other, and you
Yeah.
basically have to. You have like you can think for a second, but you can't think for like 10, 20. It's like it's fun. It's very simple. There's like
Yeah.
there's no wrong answer. It's just we'll find out which way do you
Okay.
go.
There's no wrong answer. That sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay. So one-hand Detroiter or overhead split lift spinning.
What do you want me to say?
You have to pick one. Which one?
Overhead split lift.
Yeah. Is that your favorite lift?
I feel that I could go and do one now with a cup of tea in my hand, but I'm not sure if I could. But it's one of those things that, well, a long time ago, I worked with a coach in Holiday on Ice called Don McPherson, and it was when we first got our principal role in 1997. It was our first principal role that we did was in a show called Extravaganza, and we worked with some wonderful people. And I remember another choreographer, David Baker, he auditioned us for Holiday on Ice. And I remember he said, I think we came to this conversation, we said, I want to learn how to do that. And he said, well, that is a bitch lift to learn. And it's very difficult. And it was kind of written off. And then afterwards, Don said, you need to learn it like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that I had those people around, because I think that they have made an influence on, the things that we went and did in those early days. So every lunchtime, I used to go up to Dima and say, Dima, let's go and try. And Dima was like, oh, let's do it in half an hour. I said, no, you've got to come and do it right now. So I used to drag him at lunchtime, and we used to go in a corner, and Don used to help us, and he said, just do it your way. You don't have to follow any kind of something you've seen before. Just do what works for you, do the leg you like. So he kind of guided us and encouraged us. And I've always been quite, so when I get into something, I really get into it.
Yeah.
And I did get really into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's when you achieve it, like you manage to do a trick that you thought you wouldn't be able to do, or is it always impossible? It's such a cool feeling. And then when you get to the point where that trick becomes easy, that's another cool feeling, isn't it?
Like, you know what, Adam? I think that, and you probably find this too, it's not just about doing something, spectacular. Firstly, you've got to get that spectacular thing to go up, and you've got to then get it to go down. And sometimes it can take a very, very long time to figure out how you're going to dismount from it.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I mean, you do something that you're, wow, I can do this, and then afterwards, like, but how are we going to get out of it? And then you've got to figure that out. So it's a whole journey to learn something on the floor and then bring it safely on the ice. And it's safety comes first every single time.
100%.
It's only when you're 200% sure that you can do it, then you put it on the ice.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like it's so funny for me, like, because this is probably the same for you. Most of what you do when you were doing it, not that it's not difficult, but you could do it easily. You could replicate it over and over and over and over again. You know, even though it's a difficult trick, you could do it like every time, like probably 10 out of 10. And it's cool to get to that point, and it's cool to watch people that achieve that kind of level. What do you think?
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm lucky, I'm privileged that I mean, Dmitry, he is from a very good background. He had a very good coach. And you know, he was from the old school USSR. So I mean, his technique is, you know, really, really spot on. And he was very strict about, you know, that, and you know, achieving and doing things in a safe way, but also the presentation and extending the legs. So that was all because I was quite young. I picked that up. He, like I said, he was my coach as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. It must have been amazing to skate with someone of that caliber. You know, it's like I try to think, and most of the girls I've skated with, we've kind of learned along the way, or I've taught them. Probably the best would probably be Jenna, Nicole, but I've never skated with. Although I've occasionally lifted somebody when I was in Disney that had been to Worlds, and it's suddenly like, oh, they've put themselves up there somehow. I'm like, it's different. It's just a different quality of training from being younger. So it must have been nice for
I
you.
think it's good to have somebody who has experience already, but I wouldn't be put off if you don't. So I think that, you know, pair skating is for anybody, really. I mean, I've just been at the coaches convention and they were talking about, well, if you can't find a boy to skate with, just get a girl and go and skate hand to hand. And it's true, there's so many things you can learn, because what it all comes down to in the end is good basic skating. You need to have that first, you need to have that foundation. You need to be able to learn that first before you try anything else. So the basics
Exactly.
are like more important than anything. Yeah. So you can learn
Exactly.
that with a partner
Yeah.
of any gender. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think one of the most important things is to learn correctly the first time. You know,
Yeah.
when I look back on my younger years of coaches and etc. 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 and techniques and how things were taught and the things that I may not have been told after working with Daniel Nicholson and Vicky in their ice rink, and Dan was actually coaching me. This is when I started to do my jumps, and I literally learned all of the jumps again, exactly the
Oh,
correct technique, and that's now what I know.
yeah.
But at that point, I look back on what I was taught when I was younger, and I'm like, it's so important for parents when you take your children to anything, gymnastics, skating, football, find out about the coach, what they've done, what they're trying to achieve in their business, you know, and is that someone that you want to teach your children, you know, and because I think it's really important. If you imagine if you have the wrong coach from the beginning or you've had the right coach, it will change everything.
Yes. Yeah, I just, when as a coach, because I'm a coach now, and I think I've got to a point in my life where I love that. I love coaching people, and I love being able to have the opportunity to pass on everything that's inside of me that I've learnt,
Yeah,
and I find it rewarding, and it really is, for me, nothing to do with superstar status, teaching somebody to get to the Olympics or anything. For me personally, I just I just love the journey, and everybody has a different one. And it's, you know, if you teach somebody who's growing up, you know, that's a memory that they're going to have when they're an adult, whatever they end up doing as a profession. But also, I think sport is an extremely important thing to have.
yeah,
Sport is such a healthy thing. It teaches discipline. You know, I think that everybody who has the opportunity to take in sports, play a musical instrument, be part of the arts, is part of something, is part of the community, and it's just I'm thankful that that my mother gave me that in the first place, but then to be able to pass on. So I think this is somebody's lesson. This is their time. You know, they might only have one lesson a week, but that one lesson is important to them. So I
Yeah.
give my everything every single
No,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
See, I really enjoy teaching beginners. I really enjoy teaching people their first day on skates, because I did this a lot in roller world, and so many people come and they're like, they're so scared and they're so scared, and it's like you've got your routines, exactly what they're going to do on the barrier and all your certain things, and after the half an hour lesson they're skating, and
Yeah.
that
It's
feeling,
nice that.
it's such a quick from nothing to something, as opposed to when you're teaching someone triples or anything, and it's the progress is so slow, where here the progress is so fast. So maybe, I don't know if that's selfish, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
I honestly, I don't mind the level, and I'm up for the challenge to teach anybody on any discipline. Hockey as
Okay.
well. So I've done, you know, hockey
Yeah.
lessons. Because hockey skaters, they learn basics, just the same basics like figure skaters. I was just
Yeah.
saying that today to somebody in the ice rink, because it is a lack of information around in general. So
Yeah.
people who walk into the rink, they really have no idea what skates to buy, what blades to buy. And, you know, today I just happened to be that person where, you know, I had the answers and they were so thankful. Um, but yeah, it's just not there. You just don't know when you put a pair of hired skates on that sometimes the blades can be completely blunt, and it's going to make an absolute impression on what you're going to do on the ice.
Oh
Um,
man,
and
rental
and it's
space.
just, yeah, I mean, people don't know. They just think there's something wrong
Yeah.
with them when they go on the
Oh,
ice, fall over everywhere. You know, it's there's so many things. Equipment is really important in figure skating and in hockey, and you know, anything where you're on the ice on a pair of blades. Um, and it doesn't mean that you have to fork out hundreds and hundreds of pounds of equipment. And that's what I was also saying to this man today. You know, you can go on eBay, and if you know what you're looking for, you can find a pair of decent boots for £30.
yeah.
You know, so it's not impossible. Or I mean, they sell ice rinks in the rink that I work in. So I mean, the coaches sell their secondhand skates, which is a great idea.
No, exactly, and this is the thing as well with blades, right? You know, it's I remember times when I've bought a new pair of blades because I wanted these ones. I think pattern 99, and I just couldn't get on with the rocker. So then we had to buy another pair of blades, and you're spending hundreds of pounds just for a
Yeah,
difference of a rocker and a toe pick.
and
You know, it's an expensive sport, isn't it?
I mean, it is expensive, and it's quite daunting when you don't know what you have to get. And I mean, in the old days, I mean, my mum didn't have 2 coins to rub together, but somehow she used to go and get me the most expensive equipment. She used to get me like Spitaries, and she used to get me Gold Star blades, and she used to get me those every single time. And I used to like having beige boots as well from the age of 13. But she did everything. And but really, if you haven't got the chance to get that kind of like really expensive hundreds and hundreds of pounds of equipment, can find things. And you know, there's coaches and there's people who know, so it's worth asking the questions. And I
Oh,
always say to
definitely.
people, just send me a message, just ask me. I can send some you know, screenshots of boots that you can get, and
Oh,
blades that would be good for
but
a beginner.
yeah, the thing is, like, you know what's quite funny with me, right? I've tried so many things in public, and not everything panned out. I have memories. I've got skate and love here. You know, when I wanted to create this skate love, which was going to be selling clothing, using the profits to then give to coaches for
Yeah,
underprivileged children, right? It
that's a
was just
lovely
the wrong
idea.
time. It was the wrong time.
Yeah,
But with what we're going to do here, we're going to be able to do something similar. Like, maybe we're sponsoring them with our blades in our frames. You know, the coaches that work here, when they've got their codes and however it's working, there'll be schemes to help the children that can't afford what they need. You know,
Yeah.
this is going to be something, because it's close to my heart. I have the tattoos on my arm. You know, so I know this is close to your heart as well. So this will be something to work on through showskaters.com and see what change we can make in the world. Because if you have a platform that has knowledge, and you have coaches and choreographers, and you have people willing to help you, and we have the products, and etc., 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 when you combine it all together into one package, I think we can do a lot of good for a lot of people.
It sounds like a fantastic approach, and I think for me personally, if there was somewhere where I could get blades and get a good discount, because honestly, I mean, it is expensive, and I mean, my boots that I have now and my blades, I'm always like, okay, I don't want to sharpen them too much because I don't want them to get wasted, and I'm really fussy with them because they are, equipment is expensive, really. So that's a great idea for people
Yeah, you
out there.
haven't, because we haven't spoken for a little while. So there's a lot there's a lot of things we can't say publicly, but we'll talk privately. I'll show you what's where we're up to right now, because it's really exciting, really exciting to be part of something like
I'm
this. So
interested to hear it.
let's
Yeah.
oh, everyone will be. It's really
Yeah.
cool. So let's go back. We were on our quick fire questions. We got to one and then we talked.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay. Go on.
this is going to be a jump question. Axel or flip?
Axel.
Why?
Because I like doing Axel now. I
Yeah.
haven't tried double flip yet. Again.
Are you jumping now a little bit?
I do when I feel like it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it every time I go on the ice. I just, when I fancy it, I just like to jump. I like
Yeah.
to spin. I
It's
like to think I can still move
yeah.
around. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like to do spirals and I like to do glides, and yeah.
It's fun when you haven't done it for a while. Like I remember back when all my life revolved around getting a double axle. That's all I cared about. Get a double axle, double axle, double axle, double axle, because I wanted to be able to get into hot ice one day. That was my big goal in life, right? And
Yeah.
then when you progress to pairs, and it's suddenly you open up from doing a handful of jumps and some spins and the tricks to like unlimited. It's unlimited what you can do once you come to pairs. Your two bodies, you
Yeah.
can spins, your throws, lifts, rotating, etc., etc. Like, did you find it that way or not? That it just opened your world from single skating?
I like doing throw jumps. I used to like doing a throw double salco, and a gainer. So I remember when we did Italian tour, um, it was we made up like this combination where we did a gainer and I landed, and then we went into throw double sal, and we did that in the
Like,
finale.
yeah, again, yeah. This,
Yeah, yeah, and that wasn't it wasn't a big deal. It just used to work out
yeah,
quite well. So yeah, I mean, I didn't go and do throw. I'm not going to lie, I didn't do throw triple jumps in performances. In fact, one choreographer said, "I just want you to do lifts." So I used to get different
yeah,
people asking for different things, but
yeah,
I was always game to go and do it. I wanted to do it. I always have
yeah,
wanted to push myself and do more.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah.
I'm sure people may be thinking what I'm thinking. They're curious. What jumps did you do in your career? What was like how far did you go?
So I went up to intergold level, old test structure, and I landed up to, I did double axel. At some point, I did triple salco, and around 15, I was doing triple loop. And then, yeah, I think that was about as far as I went.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
no triple axles for me, Adam.
Oh,
But yeah, I always wanted to. I wanted to be a free skater because I used to watch free skaters jump, and I wanted to jump. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do all of it.
yeah. So in the rink that you're in, when
Yeah.
you were up to double Lutz, you go for double axel. The skaters that were ahead of you, what were they jumping in the rink?
So in the rink where I was when I was a teenager, um, probably like they were more comfortable, more consistent on double axel, triple sail, triple toe at that time, because I mean skating's come on leaps and bounds since I was a youngster. So those were big jumps in those days. Now, I mean, everybody's doing, you know, triple axel, triple lutz, quads, lots of quads.
In
You
your
have to
ring?
be a bit of
In your ring?
artistic rhythmic dancer. You have to do all the big
Yeah.
stretchy. So I mean, I'm old school. I didn't have to. I wasn't required to do that when I was.
Yeah.
I learned. I stretched myself out. I did that myself. I
Yeah.
drove myself to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah. In the rink now, where you're at, they're doing quads.
No, I mean
No.
like in the international scene.
Yeah, yeah. So
You
here's
know,
the thing. This is
skating,
so
the world
this was
skating.
kind of like, yeah, this is kind of like a question where I know where I'm kind of going to go afterwards. So
Go on.
one of the most important things that you can have is someone that's ahead of you to kind of watch to see what's possible. You know, in some rinks, and you go and they're just someone's just doing a single axle. So you're not seeing triples every day, and you're not seeing where your journey
Yeah,
is. You go onto Instagram for it. You know, so I think it's really important, like for all skaters, even if you don't have anyone in your rink, go on Instagram and find the people that inspire you, that are doing what you want to do, and try to emulate them. And even if you go into a show, like something that I did every single show that I went to, I would look at certain people and I'm like Daniel Whiston, the way that he moved, I'm like, I like that. I go into another show and the way that someone would do a trick, I'm like, I like that. And I would take tiny,
inspiration.
tiny bits
Yeah,
from everybody and I would
yeah,
try to put it into my body and then make it my own, and trying to find my own way. And I think
yeah.
it's really important to
Oh,
just,
definitely.
and you know,
But for me, I was inspired by ballet dancers as well. I like Maya Plisetskaya as well,
yeah,
and I love how she moves her arms. So I just used to see things in different. I mean, sometimes it's just the face expressions and
yeah.
how how they would tell a story on the stage, and just how people would interpret the music. Because I love interpreting music. If somebody puts a piece of music on, I just want to dance to it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so important. If you want knowledge, you read books. Like you learn, you listen to podcasts. If you want to become the best at something, watch the people that have done it and learn from them, and then try to innovate on what they're doing. It's so obvious. It's such an obvious thing to do, but a lot of people maybe don't do it. I don't know, or they just don't watch as much. But yeah,
yeah.
inspiring. They're very inspiring. So let's do one more quick. This is going to be a hard one.
Oh
This,
no.
this is kind of serious. This
Go
is
on then.
serious. Are you ready? Fish and chips or Chinese?
Um, Chinese.
Chinese. Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
It was actually like, oh, I'm actually quite hungry. Yeah,
yeah.
Chinese.
Like,
What's,
but I don't get that question. And why is it difficult?
I wasn't. I'm just being stupid. I,
You're not stupid. It's just I'm
I wanted to
intrigued.
make you think it's going to be something really hard. You're like, okay, and then it's like stupid. Yeah, we've got to have a
Okay.
little bit of
I
humor.
like fish and chips as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when you find a good one, when you find it's a bad fish, you're like, oh, no.
I like Indian food as well.
I love
I like
India.
spicy food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Mexican. I pretty much like everything, but
I.
I don't eat meat, so I eat fish. And
Ah,
people always say, how can you not eat meat? But I've done it since I was 7,
yeah.
so and I
Yeah.
don't miss it.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. So have you been to Thailand?
No, I haven't been.
Oh, wow.
I haven't been. I like Thai food as well.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like Thai food in Thailand, because Thailand's really, 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 really cheap. It's
Yeah,
really,
no, I haven't been there. I've been in China and Japan and Korea. I
where are
haven't
some of your
been to
favorite
Japan.
places that you've been to?
My favorite places. I think I got quite attached to Japan because we would tour Japan over a 7-year period. So we started our, it began at the end of 2007 when we got an opportunity to go to Hiroshima, actually.
Yeah.
That was the first place we went. And then after that, we were touring all the way through 2008. And I mean, we went to so many places. I've probably been to more cities and towns in Japan than I've been in the UK, and that's honest. And
Wow.
then when the tsunami happened in 2011, we returned back to Japan, and they were very, very grateful that we came. It was such a lovely feeling that they had towards us. And that year we had white costumes, which is a kind of it meant something to wear white. It kind of is like a kind of the passing, you know. And it felt very special to be there at that time. And then we continued, and we were there until 2014. And really, we just felt it was time for us to try and kind of slow down a little bit. Although that was a very difficult thing to do. It's very hard because, as you know, skating is very addictive. But we just slowly were thinking, okay, well, you know, if we want to start a family, we should probably let your body just relax a little bit, you know, because when you're performing, you're really tight, you know, you're using the muscles in the back and everything. And I think it's also mental. So I think you just kind of have to, and it was just, it was a letting go bit. That was not easy to do. I mean, it was difficult. It was my passion, you know, I loved it. But, you know, I don't regret that. I don't regret that at all.
No, like with Japan as well, the culture is so different. I mean, I haven't been to Japan. I've been
Yeah,
to a lot of the rest of Southeast Asia, and it was the culture and just how different it was there.
yeah,
Like Japan is a different level as well, isn't it? It's like
very
it looks,
futuristic.
yeah, it looks
Yeah,
really, really cool.
and I like sushi. But, you
Yeah,
know, the other country that I loved performing in was Gran Canaria. So we
yeah,
performed on a very, very small ice surface. And it wasn't an ice skating show. It was like a variety show, and they had flamenco dancers, and they had international dancers that were all included topless dancers as well. And they had speciality acts, all different ones, and they had an ice skating act as well. We had the opportunity to go there in 2001 to 2004, and that was a lovely thing that we did for half the year. And I really, really, I did miss that so much when we stopped going there.
and was it
But
just one show per day, 5, 6 days a week?
um, yeah, so we used to do an 8-minute number.
Yeah,
And we used to
that's why
perform late in the evening, so the show used to start at 10, and sometimes we wouldn't even get on the stage until midnight. I mean, it was a late show, so our whole body routine and everything was different. Um, but yeah, we used to get 2 days off a week, and we lived by the beach. You know, everything was, but it wasn't easy. Even it sounds like it. You know,
right. Eight
you
minutes
had
does not sound
yeah.
easy.
No, it
No, it
wasn't. You
does
had
not
to still
sound
be
easy.
very
I've, I've
focused.
I've watched the number. I've never done an 8 minute number. I don't want to do an 8 minute number. Thank you very much.
Well, Adam, you just have to stop and pose, stop and
Yeah,
pose.
yeah,
Yeah, just lots of posing and some
yeah.
lifts.
And
Yeah,
the thing is, you can get a sense there for what the circle kind of is like. You know, you have to do a trick, then you have to have a rest, then you have to do a trick, then you have to have a rest. If you just
yeah,
keep going, it's impossible. It's impossible, right? You know, especially for the guys' legs. You know,
yeah.
it must
Well,
have
you
been
have
tough
to
doing
find
all
your rest
three.
points, don't you? You have
Yeah,
to. And I mean, like the first year we were there, we didn't know that. And we skated to the Mask of Zorro. And we were literally going from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. And we were like, and I
yeah,
remember the man who was in charge of all of the performers, um, Paco, he said to us at the end of the contract, he said, "No more Zorro like this."
yeah.
But he brought us back for the following season. But it was funny. It always rings in my head. No more Zorro.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's trying to find like when I look for music, I have to imagine the trick, and you need the breaks. You need those breaks, and sometimes it's like really really good, and then it just keeps going, and it's like, okay, next track, and you just then I dissected music somehow. I took it apart and I built something, and I never actually used it. This was with Diana. I put together an act and trained it for weeks, and then I left. So hopefully I'll use that music.
Yeah, it'll come up in the future. You'll find the opportunity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so let's do another quick fire question. We've already asked that question. I asked it that before. What is your favorite trick to do? Didn't I? Did I ask that or not?
I think the first favorite trick that I liked to do was a gainer,
Yeah.
and then I used to we did it in combination. So we did different versions of the gainer. We did like one with a split. We did one with a stag position. So we got gainer split, gainer drape, we called it. We used to do different dismounts. So we did a flick down. We did another one where we were doing a split and we went one-handed on the split. So yeah, that would be the one that we used to find fun to do, I guess, at the beginning. But then we just then worked on different elements and lifts and moves. It's not all about the lifts. It's also about the whole picture, isn't it? But doing some signature tricks. It's nice to have
about the tricks. It's all about the tricks, Fiona.
Okay, if you say so.
No, I'm just joking. No, but you know what's funny? It's like I think everyone needs to find their own niche, what works for them. You could be, I can only talk from my own perspective, right? When I was on the ice, I was an average skater, because I didn't have the level of skating skills or the certain things, but I found where I kind of fit in. It's more tricks, smaller circles, and kind of thing. So everyone
your
has
stuff is crazy. I was watching your videos of your rollerblading that you're doing with Rosie. Oh my gosh.
You have to
You're so brave to go and do that. I mean, yeah.
I do. I've got my blaze. I want to go back on the ice to do things. But something that I found when I went back onto the ice. This was with Rosie. This is like a while ago. My technique for spinning on inlines is different than on the ice.
Yeah.
And so I got on there and I started doing my technique from for overhead from the ice from inlines. I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable. But then when I started to do these tricks, I'm so used to not non-stop pumping that when I go back on the ice, I'm going so fast. Because the beauty of the ice is you do a few pushes and then you stop pushing and you get a chance to breathe and take your break.
Yeah.
You do your position. Otherwise, you don't get a break in a long number, right? So it's cool. I mean, you've done both, right? You've also done both, so you know what it feels like to go on one and then go back. And
I really enjoyed. We did opportunity to go to Canada and perform in a show, and I think it was called Bow Ideal, and it was headlined by Elvis Stoico, and it was my very good friend Roselle who organized the whole thing. It was a theatrical thing, and I remember Dima said, "Oh, this is so cool. You don't have to skate on the ice, you can just roll on the ice." And I remember we were just like rolling, we didn't have to take our skate guards off. So it is a different feeling. Obviously, you've got friction. So like obviously the wheels, they sweat. That's what I found. And with ice skating, it's cold and it's icy, but also I find that on skating you've got much more leeway to do edges. But saying that, you've tried different wheels and things, so you probably have more insight now into the rollerblades than I do, because we skated on pick skates, and we didn't really do anything with the wheels. We just stuck to what we had.
I mean that's what at the very beginning when we started. That's just what we did, because you don't know what you don't know. So we had the original wheels, and you use those, and they wear down, and then they're slippy, and you don't know why, and then you figure it out, etc. But it's fun. It's cool to be able to do both, I would say.
I'll tell you what I'm really, really thankful is that when there was a lockdown and you could go out once a day, or something like that. And I remember it was a time when Leo and Diana were very, very young. I think Leo was 3 only, and but he was already into skating, and it felt, I was so upset with not, he couldn't go on the ice, and it was just started for him. And Diana, she skated when she was like 13 months old.
Wow.
And you know, it was just so difficult, but I managed with Leo, and I encouraged Diana just to keep, you know, doing stuff. So we went on rollerblades, and I taught Leo actually forward crossovers, backward crossovers, 3 turns, mohawks.
Yeah.
I taught all the basics
Yeah.
with Dmitry. We did that, and we got him skating around, and you know, that was all. That's all he knew for like a year and a half. That's all we could do. I mean, we were in. There was no ice rinks for. We had to travel 3.5 hours to go to Basingstoke or Slough to
Yeah.
skate, because I mean there was nothing in Wales. There was nothing open.
Definitely. Yeah. Do you remember the online competition I did?
Of course, yeah. Oh, we had so much fun. We were with. I mean, I'm not great with technology, but I just went with my iPhone, and I just did little videos, and it was fun. It gave us, you know, it gave us a challenge. And Leo did Jeremy Fisher from Beatrix Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It
was
was so
fun.
cool to do this. Like,
It was a nice one. They were
it's
lovely. All the
uh,
competitors watching all their routines. It was really cool. I like
yeah.
that.
I mean, it is something that we
Yeah,
will do through Showskaters in the future.
yeah, definitely
We'll
do it
do an
again.
ice.
Yeah,
We'll do something, because I know I've done it and I know how to do it now. It's
yeah,
something that can be not easily, I say easily replicated. There's still work there, but I think maybe in 6 months, a year's time, if we do something like that, and people can help me with different things, and we just do something really, really cool with really good prizes, because especially this summer, the summer for the inlines outside is really, really cool. So you could even do like a summer version, which is for inlines, and a winter version, which is for ice. And then you'll have people going up into the mountains to shoot their videos.
lovely.
You know, so I mean, I hadn't thought too much about it, but now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm starting to get excited. I'm
When
like,
I think about rollerblading, it gives you a different vibe. It's a bit more kind of cool, and yeah, and it feels different to when you're on the ice. I think it gives you a different sort of I don't know, it's just different, and I like it. Maybe a bit more freestyle perhaps.
yeah,
And yeah, cool. Yeah,
no, I mean, like being inside a roller rink, being inside an ice rink, they are yin and yang. They're so different. Like a roller rink is more for fun. You've got culture, you've got people doing their dancing on the quads, and it's a
yeah,
little bit more laid back. Where ice rink is, you know, you've got your public sessions, then it's all about coaching, and you know, it's very much learning, as opposed to you learning a roller rink, but it's just so different. That's how it was in Rollerwood when I was there. I thought, have I lived my life wrong? Have I done this all wrong? I started on inlines at 10 years old, and then went on the ice at 11. So that's why I could already skate, because I guess I'm self-taught, as people like to say. I self-taught myself to inline skate. But it's
I
I
had
started
those
on mine.
quad wheels when I was younger, but
Yeah.
the ones that you strap onto
Yeah.
your trainers,
See,
I
so
had
you started
those.
on wheels too. So
Yeah,
really, we're roller skaters that ice
I used to
skated.
like rolling down a hill. I mean, I used to go when I got older. I used to go on rollerblades, and I used to live on a hill, and I used to go right to the top, and I used to wheel all the way down, all the way down. But
Oh,
hey, Adam, you know what? I'm gonna have to go soon because my kids are running riot, and I've left them with my brother,
yeah.
and I need to put them to bed.
That,
Yeah,
that, that's all good. That's all good. So just
yeah,
before we wrap this up,
yeah.
I'm going to ask one question. Okay. What piece of advice would you give to an 18-year-old starting shows now? Uh, yeah, wanting to start shows.
Okay. Well, if you're putting like put a short video together of your best elements, make it short, sharp, and effective. Um, Good presentation, nice clothes. Try to show your personality. And what we did was we had the old VHS like big, you know, videos, and a big video camcorder thing in those days, but we sent it around everywhere to every show everywhere, and that's how we ended up getting the opportunity to get a principal part quite early on. Yeah.
So you've got to work. You've got to put yourself out there. It's
Keep
so
working.
important. It's so
The old saying
competitive nowadays.
goes, if at first you don't succeed, try again, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not always easy, is it?
It's not easy. It's not easy. You just got to work hard. But Fiona, it's been amazing. I know how the stream went. I don't even know if anyone's watching.
I'm going to be scared to watch it. I don't watch it myself.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean,
But
I can't watch it, but I hope that whoever's watching has enjoyed it and got something out of it.
Yeah,
And
but it's been amazing. It's been amazing to connect with you, and we'll definitely have to do this again because there's so much more. There's so much more we didn't talk about. So thank you so much, Fiona. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a productive next week. We will be in touch about Showskaters and a few other things.
I look forward to it. Have a lovely evening, and I'm going to go and rescue my brother now from my children, who should be sleeping hours ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Take care. Bye, Fiona.
Take care.
I'm going to turn you off now. Okay, guys. I don't know if the stream worked. If it did work, I hope you enjoyed the first podcast. We do have some more podcasts lined up, and I will be announcing the guests that we have. So thank you for coming here and joining the podcast. Have a great week, everybody. And now I can't get off full screen. Okay. Bye, guys. And make sure to go to showskaters.com and join. And if you are a producer, a coach, a choreographer, then it's free for life. So come and join, and